Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Wednesday, February 1st, 2023. Happy Black History Month. Today we are going to be talking about the 2024 presidential election and Nikki Haley, the former UN ambassador and former governor of the state of South Carolina, who is poised to enter the 2024 presidential race on February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day. Now, before I get into it, I want to say that, again, I apologize for taking this leave of absence that I've had over the past 10 days. I've been in the first 2 weeks of my spring semester, so things have been ramping up, but there is no excuse. I really hate taking time away from this channel. It really has become the longest time that I've ever taken away from uploading on here, and I do feel like a part of me is missing every day that I do miss uploading a video for you guys. So this one will go out today. I'm going to start getting back on a routine schedule. I've put it into my Google Calendar. I've noticed that time has become a lot more difficult to do when you are juggling academics and extracurricular activities, but after these first 2 weeks, it looks like things are going to die down quite a bit, so I should be back to a regular upload schedule as we head into the next couple of months, going straight into the summer of 2023. Now, the 2024 presidential race is one that has already been caught up by President Donald Trump's announcement from last November. When Donald Trump announced that he would intend to run for re-election in 2024, there seemed to be a lot of discussion about whether or not any other Republicans would enter into the race to challenge him for this nomination. And for a while, nobody had declared. In fact, up until now, even today, Nikki Haley has yet to declare that she is in fact running. Just a lot of media speculation. The intent to have an announcement on the 15th pertaining to the 2024 race, Nikki Haley is positioning herself to run against President Trump. But she isn't the only one. Former United States National Security Advisor John Bolton, who went into a lot of popularity in the media just due to his close relationship with President Trump previously, now saying that he wants to go against President Donald Trump. There's also Governor Ron DeSantis, who has said openly that he's going to make a decision about whether or not he's running in 2024. Governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson, has also made that declaration. Mike Pompeo, who was Secretary of State under Donald Trump, is also considering a bid. And of those who have publicly expressed interest, Mike Pence, Donald Trump's former vice president, Larry Hogan, governor of Maryland, Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota, Chris Christie, Chris Sununu, Liz Cheney, the names go on and on and on. And it seems as if with this Nikki Haley announcement that it's going to be the start of many Republican bids that are announcing that they are intending to challenge Donald Trump for this nomination. And the reason why I refer to it as Donald Trump's nomination or challenging Donald Trump rather than just throwing their hat into the ring, because the dynamics of this race are different, and everybody knows it. With Donald Trump's announcement knowing that he is going into 2024, the expectations for him are quite high. Nationally speaking, Donald Trump does, in fact, lead in nationwide polling. At least, more recently, he has started to dip. But on the general average on Real Clear Politics, Donald Trump is in the lead. And the overall fascinating part about it is that the candidate who is in second place, nationally on Real Clear Politics, up on Wikipedia, is Governor Ron DeSantis from the state of Florida, who in some polls is beating Donald Trump head-to-head, but in other polls is losing. The problem here, Ron DeSantis has yet to announce his bid. In fact, he seems to be preparing for a bid, but says he will not announce until at least May 2023. The question is here, does Ron DeSantis decide to challenge Donald Trump, who has maintained a lead for quite some time, or does he dial it back and announce a bid for 2028 in just about 4 years? That's the question that's looming over his head. And looking at the national numbers, Donald Trump has maintained a lead. A 15.6% lead is something that means Donald Trump still has a significant portion of the electorate on his side, obviously amongst the Republican base. 46.4% of Republicans on average would back Donald Trump in a potential 2024 bid. Nikki Haley, on the other hand, just 3%. But that 3% makes all the difference between Donald Trump being at the majority or being at a plurality. If Donald Trump was to get Nikki Haley and just 1% more from anybody else, Donald Trump would have this nomination secured. The problem is, that's not what the direction of this nomination process is going forward. But I will say, though, with Nikki Haley's announcement, I honestly think that Donald Trump benefits from a Nikki Haley announcement. And allow me to explain my reasoning here. You see, back in 2016, Donald Trump won the nomination with just 44.9% of the vote, nationally speaking. Ted Cruz got 25%, Marco Rubio got 11%, and John Kasich got 14%. The combined vote share there alone would have been enough to prevent Donald Trump from winning the nomination. You combine everybody else, 55.1% of Republicans in 2016 did not vote for Donald Trump. But the problem is, the way the primary system is set up in these states, the way the Republican primary system is set up, is that plurality winners will almost always be the victors of the overall primary. Unlike the Democratic primary, the Republicans can win races with simple pluralities and dominate in delegate count. Most notable, 2 states that come to interest, largely because Nikki Haley is from one of them, Ron DeSantis is from the other, but they're perfect examples of why Nikki Haley announcing her bid for president actually helps Donald Trump. Because in this heavy contested race, Donald Trump defeats everybody else by 16 points. But in head-to-head matchups between DeSantis and Trump, in these potential matchups, what you find is DeSantis' numbers go from 39 to 52. The opposition to Trump is much more significant than there is support for Trump overall, or at least marginally significant, which can make all the difference. Nikki Haley's 4, 3, 2% can make all the difference, but chances are she won't be the only Republican running, and it will be very similar to 2016. And again, she's from the state of South Carolina. But you know who had a claim and stake on the South Carolina Republican presidential primary? Jeb Bush. The Bush brothers have always done well in South Carolina. This has been a state that has resurrected presidential campaigns as it did for Donald Trump or Joe Biden in 2020. But in 2016, it sank Jeb Bush's nomination. It sank everybody else's nomination because it gave Donald Trump an electoral mandate moving beyond this state. The catch of it all? Donald Trump received less than 1/3 of the vote in South Carolina, yet won 100% of the delegates. How did this happen? Because the Republican primary in South Carolina is winner take all. Unlike the Democrat counterpart, those are proportional delegates. In the Republican primary, it is winner take all, which means even though the combined vote against Trump was 67.5%, Donald Trump still won. So when you look over at the state of Florida, where Ron DeSantis is from as well, where Marco Rubio was from, serving as a senator from in this primary, Marco Rubio received 27% of the vote in Florida, one of the biggest states in the entire country. Over 500,000 people cast their ballots for Marco Rubio in this primary. How many delegates did he get? 0. How many did Donald Trump get? Donald Trump received 99 out of 99 delegates. The reason being, it's a winner-take-all system. He received less than a majority of the vote, yet received 100% of the delegates. That is the problem that lies ahead. So why, again, is Nikki Haley running? Bad news for other Republicans, good news for Donald Trump? Well, number one, it gives Donald Trump a viable vice presidential option. But number two, it splits the vote. Because chances are she's not going head-to-head with Donald Trump. Chances are she's going to be one of many Republicans that decide to announce that they are running. There are plenty of Republicans on this list, and some that aren't, that will announce their bids to challenge Donald Trump. Because what these numbers show is that he's vulnerable. But realistically, he's vulnerable to just one person. And that is Governor Ron DeSantis. But many people in politics, and I think we know this now, ego and self-importance is inflated when you are running for president. And when you have rallies with thousands of those in attendance, you never think you're going to lose. You feel as if the energy is there. And the energy is absolutely there for many of these Republicans. But in terms of overall national support, which isn't illustrated by just a few rallies, as Donald Trump's rally sizes compared to Biden's can tell you, what you will find is that many Republicans will see Trump's dip in these polls as an opportunity for them to be the savior. It's the exact dilemma that we saw happen in 2016 when all of these Republicans refused to drop out, endorsed each other but not really, refused to have a coalition against Trump, and it paid off in 2016, but it fell apart in 2018, 2020, and 2022. And the question will remain for Republicans. Do you want a repeat of the 2020 election or 2022 elections in 2024, or do you want something different? And the only realistic way to combat President Donald Trump from winning this nomination is by having one candidate. Ron DeSantis would be best, but one candidate where all of the Republicans came behind and decided to support. But now, especially that Donald Trump has been on the campaign trail for a few months, he's already starting to reel in some of the bigger names in Republican politics. Even though Nikki Haley may announce soon and Ron DeSantis may announce in May, what we are finding here is that Donald Trump is calling people up. He's calling people and saying, please endorse me for president of the United States. And what you are finding here, amongst Donald Trump, he's pulling in some very big names nationally. He's pulling in his base that otherwise might have scattered if he did not pressure them or have them endorse him this early on. You have the House Freedom Caucus. You have members that are not in it. You have U.S. Senators, Lindsey Graham, Eric Schmidt, Tommy Tuberville, J.D. Vance. These are names that are recognizable amongst the national GOP, at least for some of them. And the fact that they are backing him entirely for 2024, and this list grows every single day, means that Republicans need to jump on the opportunity to tank the Trump train. But chances are it isn't going to happen. History repeats itself, and we have seen this happen in 2016, and it is very obvious what the GOP needs to do. The question is, do these Republicans come together and recognize that only one of them can be president, not all of them, and that only one of them, cough, cough, Ron DeSantis, can actually beat Trump in a head-to-head matchup? Or, potentially speaking, in an extreme case, maybe in a crowded field, but realistically, in a head-to-head matchup. And I honestly don't think that's going to happen. The Republican Party is likely going to repeat 2016, and that is the reality that we are in at this point. So with Nikki Haley announcing her bid for 2024, let's shift over slightly into whether or not she's electable, because we know what the impact will be on the Republican nomination. I personally do not think she would make it through this primary. I think she will last till New Hampshire, at least as she stands in current polls. But who knows? As other people decline to run, her numbers may rise. But I will say, Nikki Haley is electable. Not in the Republican primary, but in the general election. And I think if Democrats were to be afraid of anyone, it should be her, it should be Ron DeSantis, and it should be the more moderate yet Trump-tempered Republicans, meaning that they bring in the Trump base while maintaining a level of moderate politics. Ron DeSantis, definitely not as moderate as I previously thought, or not even really moderate, just moderate presenting, right? That's the thing about American politics. All of it is optics. Haley, Trump, DeSantis all share an issue record, all share the same views on political issues, but in actuality, in terms of what the American public perceives, it's that Nikki Haley is more centered, she's more tame. Same thing with Ron DeSantis, but Trump is outlandish. They all believe the same thing. It's about optics. But I think Nikki Haley could truly be the first woman president of the United States as a Republican, but she needs to make it through the primary. So yes, my answer is I think Nikki Haley is electable. I think she could win the 2024 election if she was platformed to be the presidential nominee. I don't think she would be too much of a benefit as vice presidential nominee, at least not more than Mike Pence, because at the end of the day, it's the presidential role that takes on most of the responsibility. It's the presidential role that you see in and out of the White House. We rarely talk about Vice President Harris. We rarely talk about Vice President Pence. These are names that are familiar and recognizable, but certainly not at the top of the ticket by any metric. And that's what's going to happen here. Donald Trump is running, and Nikki Haley, who even said herself that if Trump runs in 2024, then she won't, seems to be walking back on that too. Ron DeSantis is getting into arguments with Trump. They're going back and forth over certain things, and it looks like Donald Trump is taking this race seriously. He's trying to clear the field. He's trying to attack and defame all of these Republicans that are considering running, and as of right now, it looks like it's working. But if Nikki Haley, when she announces, as it is expected on February 15th, it is going to start a constant trend we will see over the next year of Republicans announcing until we get to a field of 17 candidates, as we did in 2016, which will result in the loss for the anti-Trump Republicans and a win for President Donald Trump. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2024 election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.